Hey everybody, welcome to the Insurance Journal's Academy of Insurance's weekly webinar Aftershow. I'm your host, George, and joining me for the Aftershow today is the instructor for today's class. Today's class was PFAS, an evolving risk that won't go away, and our instructor was and is Dr. Brenda Wells. Brenda, great to see you on the Aftershow. I feel like it was just not long ago when we had you on the Aftershow before with a big crowd, and now it's just you.
Thank you, George. Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to be with the Academy of Insurance. And, I'm honored that I get to teach for you guys every so often. And PFAS has become one of I'm not sure what to do with it because I know just enough about it now to know that I'm worried. But, other than changing cookware and taking my burrito out of the wrapper before I heat it up, it just feels like the guy said, whack-a-mole. You hit one and another one pops up.
Right. Absolutely. So I was looking at, because you had taught a class for us on PFAS before, mm-hmm. and the titles of the two classes reminded me of a novel by a gentleman named Italo Calvino, and it was called If on a Winter's Night a Traveler. And as you read the book, every chapter title at the end of the book is an entire paragraph, like if on a winter's night a traveler knocks upon your door, whatever. So at the end of the book, there's a paragraph with all the chapter headings as one paragraph or chapter names. Mm-hmm. So one of my questions was, as I was listening, was going to be 53 weeks ago, you taught a class called PFAS, What's the Big Deal? And today's class was PFAS, an evolving risk that won't go away. and they're kind of like, it's kind of like you're answering the question that you asked in your class setting 53 weeks ago. What's the big deal? Well, it won't go away. It's an evolving risk. Is that so? I was going to ask you. You said you're worried. So I was trying to sort of distinguish like any advances in mitigating PFAS, not just risk, but the PFAS, the element or the material. In the years since you gave the class, has there been any discernible advances that you know of, or are we still looking at the 1,000 years of PFASagery related horrors?
I think we're looking at 1,000 years of and, it's funny because since it was only invented 70 years ago, we don't even know if it'll break down in 1,000 years. That's the number they say.
I was going to say, how do they know? They've got 970 years to go. No, 930 years to go, excuse me, before we really know, right?
That's exactly my point is, how do you know it's going to break down in 1,000 years? And I mean, you think about what Teflon did for cooking and what it did for a lot of things. And Scotch Guard. I mean, I remember the first time I had Scotch guarded carpet, and it was like you could just pour stuff on it and it just bead up and you could just mop it right up. But walking barefoot on that carpet, you're getting PFAS in the soles of your feet. It's getting into your bloodstream.
Right.
So I don't know if advances are being made as fast as they should, because again, we've known there were problems since the 1950s and 60s. And, the companies responsible for this didn't tell anybody. They kept that little secret to themselves. And so with all the exposure that we've had, I worry more about kids today. I'm past it. I'm just, right. It's too late for me. I have high cholesterol and thyroid problems and I'm not worried about fertility anymore, but it just feels like nobody's taking it seriously. I know some people are, but you know, how many people have even heard of it? I mean, most of the time,
I confess I had not outside of our classes with you, so I
yeah.
haven't heard of it. If it's going to be hard to take care of scientifically, if we don't know how to stop it or negate it, are we? So I don't think to look at warning labels on things, but is there enough PFAS warning on packaging for no? And should that be where a lot of where this money is allocated, like a budget to fight PFAS, should also go to mandating that 3M should put PFAS warnings on their stuff, or would would that help more than the lack of scientific advances that are being made, or
Well,
help as much?
like
Or
you
not?
said, you don't read warning labels. I don't read warning labels. I mean, you know, when you get a new prescription at the doctor's office and you go to the pharmacy and they give you that booklet of all the information about that drug, what do you do with it? Chunk it. It goes right in the trash. You know, I mean, people just don't read that stuff. I think that's a function of, number one, people trust their doctors to tell them what they need to know. And number two, you know, we as a country, we work long hours. We do minimize leisure as compared to other countries. And I think, you know, at the end of the day, do I want to read the insert that came with my prescription drug, or do I want to read something on social media? Well, I'd rather read something on social media. You know, so people are not going to read them. They are, you know, I think people are working on it. The remediation, the mitigation, there's progress being made, but I just don't think this thing has exploded yet the way I think it's going to. The lawyers are already getting poised to take the cases. And, you know, if 97% of the United States is exposed to PFAS and has it in their bloodstream, well, wouldn't that make just about anybody with kidney or testicular cancer? They probably are a good candidate for a lawsuit.
Right.
You know, what do we do about that? I don't know. I hope that DuPont and 3M and other places that are using this, I hope that they're developing a conscience, a social conscience about exposing the rest of us to this stuff, but I don't know that they are.
Where is it more prevalent? Like what products? Is it clothing, adhesives, or cookware, or is there plenty of PFAS to go around for everything?
Plenty of it to go around. It's in, and like I said, sometimes it's not even in something. You didn't put it in there, but it ends up in there anyway.
Right.
You know, and so you got to avoid the Teflon cookware. Use ceramic, steel, or cast iron. They won't have PFAS in them. But you know, that's what I love about my expensive cookware, is that it is nonstick. And, you know, I like that. It's kind of a luxury that I don't want to give up. But, you know, Consumer Reports has proven that the manufacturers of these cookware lines will say whatever they have to say. That they're not too worried about truth in advertising, because who's going to test for it except Consumer Reports?
Right. So I have another question for you, which was, and thank you very much. I can't wait to hear what the title of next year's PFAS course is, because maybe that'll give us a clue. You know, I'll start us off. PFAS, what's the big deal? It's an evolving risk that won't go away. So those are the first two sentences of the chapter. So the next title needs to be a continuation of that.
Yeah.
PFAS, what can we do about it, or something like, answer that.
Sure.
If you would.
I will be watching that to see, because I mean, asbestos was something that bankrupted a lot of companies, and there were a lot of lawsuits on asbestos. And everybody I have talked to about PFAS says, yeah, it's probably the next asbestos. I just don't, I don't want to sound so cynical that I don't trust business, because I guess I do trust some of them. But, the reality is nobody has cared about the consumer in this. And the EPA is looking at 6 PFAS instead of saying, hey, get the PFAS out of the water now.
Right.
That's troubling to me.
Well, I guess the object lesson now, or at the moment, is if we can't trust businesses, the next best thing we can do is try to figure out ways to keep them honest. So
Exactly.
hopefully, and I'm going to look at warning labels. I'm going to go do that right after this. And you're right. We work long hours, Brenda, and these after shows don't do themselves. So I know you know what I'm talking about. So I really appreciate you being here.
Oh, I love doing the after show.
More than ditto. Thank you. Brenda, the class today was PFAS, an evolving risk that won't go away. Thank you so much for an hour filled with knowledge, interesting insights, and please keep, as we ask you to come back, please keep having these entries for this class on, because we need to keep our audience aware of this. And so this is a tremendous help to us. So thank you so much for everything you do for the Academy, Brenda. And I hope you have a fantastic day. Everyone, thanks for coming to the after show. And this is your host, George, saying we will see you next time. Take care of yourselves. Please take care of yourselves. And if you haven't seen this class after it's configured for on demand, check it out. I'm not microwaving popcorn anytime soon, honestly. So thanks, everybody. Take care of yourselves. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.
Thanks for having me, George.